Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to another quiet night with Somnolent Stories. Settle into a slow and quiet exploration of Viking life, far from the noise of battle and raids. This 2-hour somnolent history guides you through the rhythms of daily work, the lives of storytellers and seafarers, the symbols carved into wood and stone, and the differences between simple longhouses and the halls of chieftains. Along the way, Viking myths appear not as roaring sagas, but as gentle echoes woven into ordinary tasks and village paths. There are no cliffhangers, no sudden shifts, only a quiet unfolding of myth, memory, and daily life on northern shores. It is designed for easing into sleep, gentle relaxation, or quiet study. If this journey brings you calm, you are warmly invited to subscribe so that future histories may find their way to you with ease. Your presence and your reflections matter so. If you wish, leave a quiet comment, sharing which part of this Viking world felt most restful to you. Each word adds to the circle, keeping these stories steady for all who listen. The morning begins in shadow. Inside the Longhouse, the fire has cooled during the night. Only a faint glow remains beneath the layer of ash, a memory of yesterday's warmth. A woman kneels by the hearth, her cloak pulled tight against the chill. She leans close, blowing softly until a thin orange thread brightens. A spark responds, then another. She adds a splinter of pine, and the wood accepts the flame. Smoke rises slowly, curling into the rafters where beams have long since darkened. The hearth sits at the center, the anchor of the Longhouse. Around it, stones mark a boundary worn smooth by countless fires. Pots hang from iron hooks, their surfaces blackened by years of use. The smoke hole above is small, cut where the roof ridge meets. On still mornings like this, smoke lingers, drifting sideways before slipping into air. The roof is layered with turf, thick with soil and grass. In winter, snow settles above it, yet inside the house remains steady, its warmth carried by earth and fire. Along both sides of the house are long wooden benches. At night, they serve as beds, lined with woolen blankets and animal skins. By day, they are seats, places to work and talk. A child stirs on one bench, rubbing his eyes, hair tangled from sleep. He pulls a blanket around his shoulders and lets his feet touch the packed earth floor. The ground is cool, but familiar. He has felt the same earth every morning of his life. At the far end, animals begin to wake. Cows lift their heads, breath visible in the morning chill. Sheep shuffle in straw, hooves tapping gently. A pig snorts once, then lowers its head again. Chickens murmur softly, feathers rustling as they prepare to search for grain. Their presence fills the air with warmth, with scent, with sound. People and animals share this house not from choice, but from need. Together, they make the Longhouse whole. The man of the house rises. His tunic of wool hangs from a peg, woven on the household loom. It is plain brown, the color of undyed fleece, though patched at the elbows with darker cloth. His trousers are narrow, tied at the waist with a leather belt. The belt is old, its bronze buckle smooth from years of use. He pulls on boots of hide, lined with fur, worn but warm. A cloak lies folded nearby, fastened with a simple brooch of iron. He leaves it for now. The fire is enough. The woman stirs the pot that hangs above the hearth. Barley grains soaked overnight have begun to swell. She adds water drawn yesterday, stored in a wooden bucket bound with iron bands. A carved spoon moves in circles, steady and calm. Steam rises, carrying the scent of earth and grain. This porridge is the food of many mornings plain, filling enough. Beside the fire, a loaf of rye bread waits, its crust dark, its taste sour from slow fermentation. Bread is never wasted. Each slice is measured carefully. The fire steadies. The floor cools. Breath lengthens. The Longhouse is not only a shelter, it is a record of years. The walls carry shallow scratches lines, carved absent-mindedly with knives, marks from tools leaned too long against them. The beams show grooves. From ropes, the weight of stored goods. Benches bear stains of ale spilled, broth cooled, wood worn smooth by countless hands. None of these marks are hidden. Each is part of the memory of the place. The woman pulls clothing from a chest. Wool, dyed with plant colors, emerges. Soft browns from bark, faded reds from madder, muted blues from woad. Bright dyes are rare, but every shade has its place. A girl's dress is simple, fastened at the shoulders with bronze brooches. A man's tunic is belted, the hem reinforced with tablet-woven braid, small patterns of red and white. Decoration is not luxury. It is proof of care. The door opens with a hollow sound as the man slides the wooden latch free. The door is made of planks, heavy but simple. Cold air enters, carrying the scent of salt from the fjord. The light outside is pale, the sky still low with mist. Beyond the threshold, the village stirs. Smoke rises from other houses, each column. SLOW, and unhurried. Dogs move along the paths, their tails low, their noses close to the ground. Frost clings to grass, shining faintly where the sun touches. A woman carries a bucket toward the well. The rope creaks as she lowers it, wood against wood, sound against air. Water is pulled up, cool and clear. She steadies it against her hip, her feet sure upon the packed earth of the lane. Each step belongs to a rhythm repeated every day. The man steps toward the shore. The fjord lies still, water glassy and pale. Boats rest on the beach, pulled high against the tide. Their planks are sealed with tar, the seams stuffed with moss. Nets hang from poles, stiff from salt, waiting to soften in water. Oars lean against the walls, their handles polished by years of use. Above, gulls circle slowly, their calls distant, their flight steady. The air cools, the fjord steadies. Steps find rhythm. Back inside, porridge is ready. Bowls of carved wood are set upon the table. Each receives a portion, thick and steaming. Milk is poured from a clay jug, its surface lined with cream. Children eat quietly, spoons moving without hurry. Bread is cut carefully, a slice for each hand. A piece is dipped into porridge, softening before being lifted to the mouth. Food is plain, but it is steady. After eating, tasks begin. The woman takes wool from a basket, combing it with wooden cards. Fibers separate, falling into soft piles. She picks up a spindle, a stick weighted with clay, and begins to spin. The spindle turns, pulling fibers into thread. The movement is steady, a rhythm learned long ago. Each length of thread is wound carefully, added to what will one day become clothed. The man checks his tools. An axe leans against the wall, its head iron, its shaft replaced many times. A knife rests in its sheath, sharp but needing care. He draws. A whetstone along the blade, slow and precise. The sound is soft, steady as breath. Beside him, a hammer and tongs rest tools for shaping, mending. Repairing what the house requires, children carry grain to the animals. Chickens scatter across straw, pecking quickly. Cows are milked, their warm breath rising into the air. Is strained through cloth, poured into wooden tubs. Some will be drunk fresh. Some will sour and become cheese. None will be wasted. Goats are led outside, their bells faint as they step along the path. The bucket steadies, the spindle turns. The blade sharpens, the morning lengthens. Sunlight finds its way through the smoke hole, striking the floor in a pale beam. It shifts, slowly, marking the passing of time without haste. The fire burns lower, its logs consumed, its warmth steady. Ash gathers at the edges, brushed aside with a broom of birch twigs. Voices rise faintly outside. A neighbor passes, carrying a basket of fish dried in salt. He nods at the doorway, offering a word softly. Trade is simple: fish for grain, wool for salt, ale for honey. No coin is required. Trust and habit guide, exchange. Children step outside to play. Their feet press into frost, leaving dark prints upon the ground. They carry small nets, hoping to catch minnows in the stream. There, laughter is low, softened by distance. Soon, it blends with the sound of water moving steadily beyond the village. The fjord reflects the sky, pale blue, then silver, then gray. Hills rise beyond, covered in pine and birch. Snow clings to their peaks, even as valleys begin to thaw. The air carries salt, wood smoke, and the faint sweetness of pine. It is a landscape steady, unchanged for generations. The sun shifts. The fjord reflects. The breath slows. Inside. Work continues. Wool becomes thread. Bread is baked. The oven stones warmed again. Nets are mended with fine needles, each not tightened by practiced hands. Children return with wet shoes, setting them near the fire to dry. The smell of leather and damp straw joins the air at the doorway. A charm hangs, a small hammer of Thor, carved from bone. It is worn smooth, its surface touched each time someone enters or leaves. It is not a loud prayer, but a gesture, a habit of hope. Protection does not need words. It needs only the touch of a hand. Shadows soften along the walls. The fire burns lower, steady but unhurried. The family continues their tasks without rush, without pause. The day is marked not by ours, but by needs. Feed the animals, mend the tools, spin the wool, bake the bread. Anchor, the fire lowers. The spindle turns. The breath deepens. The longhouse is whole again. The hearth glows. The animals are fed. The bowls are cleaned and set aside. The tools are sharp. The wool spun. The bread cooling on a cloth. Nothing has been hurried. Nothing delayed. Life continues, steady as the fjord outside. The Longhouse breathes with its people. Smoke rises, beams creak, animals stir, voices murmur. Each sound belongs, each moment carries into the next. The day has grown brighter. In one corner of the village, not far from the fjord, a man prepares his seat beside a wooden bench. He is the Skald, the poet and keeper of memory. His role is not to lift nets or chop wood, though he can do those things when needed. His task is to hold the stories of his people, myths of the gods, deeds of ancestors, memories of voyages, and the binding words of law. He sits with a carved staff resting across his knees. The staff is not ornamented with jewels. Its wood carries only shallow lines, reminders to his own eye of verses learned long ago. He does not need to read them. He remembers. The staff is a companion, not a book. Children gather first. They sit near the hearth, where the fire has been fed with new wood. The flames are not loud, but they give warmth, and the children draw close to both fire and voice. A few older villagers pause at the doorway, leaning against the frame, letting the words reach them without stepping fully inside. The Skald waits until the room is ready. Then he begins. His voice is not hurried. It carries the slow cadence of rowing, of waves that rise and fall without end. He speaks of Odin, the one-eyed wanderer, who gave his eye for wisdom. His words are not shouted. They move like a tide, steady and low. Children listen with wide eyes, but their breathing slows. He tells of Thor, who carries his hammer, Mjolnir, not in battle cries, but in calm detail. The hammer that returns to his hand, the protector of both gods and people. He speaks of Freya, whose necklace, Brisingman, glimmers in every telling. He speaks of Njord, who knows the sea, and of Loki, whose cleverness weaves both trouble and solution. The sagas are long, and they are not told all at once. A genealogy may take the better part of an hour, each name spoken carefully, each connection tied to memory. The Skald does not hurry. He pauses between lines, letting the weight of ancestry settle like snow upon a roof when he tells of voyages. He describes them in slow strokes, the shape of a prow cutting water, the pull of oars in rhythm, the cry of gulls above. He does not shout about storms. He recalls the way rain softened woolen cloaks, the way men sang quietly to keep time when rowing against wind. These details are remembered not for drama, but for truth. He has traveled himself. Years ago, he sailed with traders to the British Isles. He recalls harbors where bread was made from wheat, finer and softer than rye or barley. He recalls silver coins, stamped with faces of kings unknown to his village. He recalls foreign words, spoken, and how trade was carried, not by swords, but by quiet agreement. These memories he weaves into his telling, not as boasts, but as witness. The children lean against one another. The fire crackles. The Skald's voice continues, even steady, carrying both myth and memory without distinction. To the people here, both are true, both necessary. His poetry uses Kenning's figures of speech that hide meaning in small riddles. He does not explain them, he lets them linger. He calls the sea the whale road, the sky the god's roof, the sword the wound hoe. Children smile when they understand, learning the play of words. Adults nod, recognizing the weight beneath them. These kennings are not tricks. They are part of memory, part of how words are carried from one generation to the next. When he recites, he uses rhythm, tapping his staff against the floor. The sound is soft but steady. Each tap marks a beat, a place where breath pauses, where memory finds anchor. Verses are held in this rhythm, repeated until they cannot be forgotten. He speaks also of law, for in a world without parchment records, it is the Skald who remembers agreements, boundaries, and oaths. He recalls who promised what at the last gathering, who gave which gift, who swore upon which ring. His memory is trusted, his words binding. To listen to the Skald is not only to hear story, but to hear the record of life. Outside, the village continues its tasks. Cows are carried to the water. Cows are led to pasture. A hammer strikes iron on anvil, shaping tools needed for spring. Yet inside the Skald's hall, time slows. The world narrows to words, to firelight, to the rhythm of memory. The Skald pauses to drink from a horn of ale. He drinks slowly, sets it down carefully, and lets silence settle before beginning again. The silence is part of the telling. It gives shape to words, lets them sink. He recalls stories of creation, how the world was formed from the body of the giant Ymir, how the sky was lifted high by Odin and his brothers. He tells how the ash tree Yggdrasil holds all realms together, roots in shadow, branches in light. These are not lessons to debate. They are truths carried by tradition. The children hear them, and the memory becomes theirs. Evening draws near. The light still lingers. The sagas are not finished. Never are. A story left incomplete today will be continued tomorrow, or the next night, or the night after. Memory does not require haste. The Skald shifts his staff, leaning it against the bench. He ends with a short verse, a blessing for the house, a wish for bread and safe sleep. A T's voice softens, then stops. For a moment, only the fire speaks. Its crackle, low and steady. Children stir, reluctant to rise. Adults nod, carrying the words silently as they leave. The Skald remains seated, watching the fire, letting the weight of memory rest. Tomorrow, he will begin again, not from the beginning, but from where words lead him. The day brightens slowly, and the Skald prepares to speak. His bench is plain wood, worn smooth by many years of sitting. Carved staff rests across his knees, marked with shallow lines. These lines are not letters, but reminders to memory. He does not need to read. He carries the words within. The staff is a companion, steady as the fire nearby. Children gather first, settling near the hearth. The fire burns softly, flames low but warm. A few adults linger at the doorway, listening without stepping fully inside. The Skald waits until the room is still. His voice begins low, measured like the rhythm of rowing. He tells of Odin, the one-eyed wanderer seeking wisdom. His words move like tidewater, steady and even. The children lean forward, their eyes following the sound. He tells of Thor, protector, with his hammer Mjolnir. The hammer is not shouted about. It is described with calm weight. He speaks of Freya, whose necklace shines in every telling. Wardi follows, the god of the sea and wind. Loki appears, clever and restless, weaving trouble and solution. The myths are not storms here. They are gentle currents. The voice steadies. The fire holds. Breath lengthens. Genealogies unfold next. Long lines of names. Each ancestor is spoken carefully, given weight in the chain. The Skald does not rush the lineage. Each name deserves pause. Children grow still, learning patience in memory. Adults nod, remembering the families tied together. These names are not stories, yet they hold the village steady. Without them, identity would blur like mist on water. The Skald pauses, allowing silence to carry meaning. Silence is part of his art, a frame around words. When he speaks again, the fire crackles in agreement. He recalls voyages made across wide seas. He speaks not of storms first, but of oars. Oars dip evenly, pulling boats forward in quiet rhythm. Men sing under their breath, matching voices to strokes. Rain falls softly on wool cloaks, darkening the fabric. Gulls follow the boats, their calls high and distant. The sea is long, but patience carries men across it. He remembers silver coins stamped with foreign faces. He recalls bread made from wheat, soft and fine. These are not boasts, but quiet witness of what was seen. The staff rests, the sea steadies. Breath slows. Kennings shape his verses, little riddles in words. The sea becomes the whale road, vast and wide. The sky is the god's roof, high and unbroken. The sword is the wound hoe, sharp and steady. Children smile when they solve the riddles. Adults nod, pleased by the remembered craft. Kennings are not tricks. They are memory devices. They make poetry durable, hard to forget. The Skald taps his staff gently as he speaks. Each tap marks a rhythm, a beat to hold the line. His voice is not loud, but it carries weight. The fire listens as much as the people do. Shadows shift slowly along the Longhouse walls. Breath moves evenly in the room, calm and shared. The sagas are long, yet no one asks for them to end. They are not entertainment only. They are inheritance. Know the myths is to belong to the community. To hear the verses is to remember the ancestors. The Skald holds the thread of all these memories. He weaves them carefully, knot by knot, into the present. The staff taps. The verse holds. Breath steadies. Law enters his verses as well. He recalls oaths sworn at the last gathering. He remembers who promised what and to whom. He remembers gifts exchanged, rings given, feasts held. His words are record as much as story. In a world without parchment, the Skald is the archive. His memory carries what the village must never lose. People trust his words because they trust his discipline. Forgetting would be dishonor, and he does not forget. His voice is the safe place where promises live. The children grow drowsy as the rhythm continues. Their breathing matches the Skald's cadence. The fire warms their faces, but does not distract. The adults lean on the doorway, listening without comment. They know these stories, yet hearing them renews their shape. Repetition is not dull, it is steady. Each retelling polishes memory like a stone in water. The Skald pauses, then begins, again without effort. His voice has carried words through many winters. It will carry them through many more. Silence deepens. Words soften. Breath eases. He recalls the story of creation, how the world began. From the body of Ymir, the giant, came earth and sea. His bones became mountains, his blood the ocean. Hes. Skald was lifted high, becoming the sky itself. Odin and his brothers shaped the world with care. From driftwood they made the first humans, man and woman. The ash tree Yggdrasil rose, holding all realms together. Its roots spread into shadow, its branches into light. Beneath it flowed wells of wisdom and fate. Above it, eagles flew, wings. Wide in silence, the children listen, eyes fixed upon the fire. They do not question the truth of the story. Truth lies not in argument, but in tradition. The story is enough because it has always been told. The Skald drinks from his horn of ale. He drinks slowly, then sets it down carefully. The pause is as important as the words. Silence is part of the telling, giving shape to sound. The flames shift, sparks rising like fragments of memory. He continues, steady as before. The horn lowers. The fire softens. Breath deepens. He tells of Ragnarok, the fate of gods to come. The wolf Fenrir breaking free, jaws wide. The serpent Jarmengander rising from the sea. Fire consuming, ice breaking, worlds ending. Yet he does not shout these endings. He speaks them as calmly as beginnings. End and start are folded into each other. The listeners accept this without fear, for every end is also a memory waiting. The Skald's voice makes even doom sound steady. Outside, the village continues with daily work. Nets are repaired with quiet patience. Cows graze in fields beyond the houses. Blacksmith strikes his anvil, sparks falling in rhythm. Yet inside the Skald's hall, the pace is slower. The world has narrowed to story and fire. The staff rests across his knees, tapped now and then. His voice flows without strain, filling the space gently. The sagas do not demand. They arrive slowly. The listeners let them arrive in their own time. The staff rests. The room steadies. Breath lowers. Evening begins to stretch across the fjord. Light softens, shadows lengthen, smoke rises gently. Still, the Skald continues, his words unbroken. He recalls voyages of heroes long gone. He names ships, describing their carved prows. He names lands, their shores rocky and green. He speaks of treasures brought home, but softly. The treasures are less important than the journeys. He remembers storms, but recalls them calmly. Rain fell, waves rose, but men endured. The fire lowers, its wood consumed. The room glows in steady orange. The children lean against each other, eyes half closed. The adults stand quietly, content to listen longer. The Skald does not rush toward ending. Stories do not end, they pause until next time. He finishes with a blessing spoken slowly. Bread, water, and safe sleep are wished for, all. His voice falls silent, and silence feels complete. The fire speaks again, crackling softly. The fire lowers. The room quiets. Breath steadies. Children rise reluctantly, walking slowly toward bedding. Adults nod, carrying memory with them into night. The Skald leans back, staff still beside him. He does not move quickly. There is no need. Tomorrow, he will begin again. Not from the beginning, but from where words lead him. Memory waits patiently, steady as stone. The Longhouse grows still, its walls holding quiet. Outside, the fjord reflects the last light. Inside, the Skald rests, keeper of all that must endure. The afternoon light softens as it touches the stones near the village path. Boy pauses beside one of them, its surface rough and lichen-covered, but marked with faint lines carved long ago. These are runes, the old letters of the northern people. They are shallow, not deep, yet they endure. He traces one with his finger, not reading aloud, but knowing that meaning lies in every mark. The rune does not shout. It whispers, reminding him that names and wishes can outlast voices. Runes are more than letters. They are symbols of both language and power. A simple line can carry a name, a blessing, a charm. Some are carved into wood, small and portable, carried like tokens in a pocket or on a cord. Others are scratched onto bone or stone, meant to last as long as the material itself. A rune may mark a boundary, or it may carry a prayer for protection. Each one is both practical and sacred. Amulets are common in Viking life. Many wear a small hammer of Thor, carved from bone or shaped from iron, bronze, or silver. The form is simple, a short handle with a wide head, but it is unmistakable. Some hammers are plain, no more than a shape. Others are finely made, decorated, with knots or spirals traded across seas. Whether simple or ornate, each hammer rests against the chest, close to the heart. It is not a loud declaration, just a quiet reminder of strength and safety. Mothers sometimes tie beads around a child's wrist, believing the color will guard against sickness. Men carve small runes on wooden sticks and carry them when they travel by sea. A fisherman may whisper a word as he knots his net, a word asking for fish, for luck, for safe return. These gestures are not ceremony. They are habits woven into daily work as naturally as breathing. Archaeologists today find such objects buried in graves. A hammer rests beside a warrior's body, placed there by careful hands. A bead necklace lies across a woman's chest, its glass shimmering faintly, even after centuries. A carved stick is found in soil, its runes still visible, though the wood has darkened with age. Each object tells not only of faith, but of love, care, and memory. They are not treasures only. They are anchors of lives once lived. The stone cools. The mark steadies. The hand remembers. Along the river, a larger stone rises. Its surface carries a longer message, carved deeply enough to last through storms and seasons. This is a rune stone, set upright to be seen by all who pass. The letters march across its face in careful lines. They say something simple. This stone is raised for Bjorn, a good farmer, a good man. The words are not boastful. They are steady, meant to keep his name alive. Another stone in another place tells of voyages. It names a man who sailed west, who crossed seas, who returned with wealth. Yet even this is carved without frenzy. The letters are neat, deliberate, respectful. To carve into stone is to speak to the future. The words are chosen carefully, never wasted. Run stones often stand beside paths where travelers may stop and read. They do not demand attention, but they receive it. A passerby runs a hand across the grooves, recognizing both stone and name. Memory is renewed by touch as much as by sight. The stone does not hurry. It waits patiently for each visitor. Some stones carry symbols alongside letters. A serpent curves around the edge, its body forming a frame for the words. Cross appears, showing how old gods and new faiths sometimes met. A hammer is carved, standing beside runes, linking myth and name. These images do not shout. They watch quietly, keeping company with the words. Archaeologists uncover these stones today, measuring each mark, tracing each line. They record them carefully, copying the runes onto paper, letting their meaning be carried into books. Yet the stones themselves remain in their places, outside in the wind, snow, and sun. They are not museum pieces only. They are still part of the landscape, standing where they were set centuries ago. The light softens. The stone cools. Breath, steadies. Not all carvings are grand. Some are small, hidden, in graves, on bones, on bits of wood. Single runes are found. A simple letter may be carved to mark ownership. A word may be cut into a stick as a charm. A short phrase might ask for protection or blessing. These are not meant for all eyes. They are meant for the hand that holds them. They are intimate, personal, private. A comb found in the earth carries a name scratched along its side. It is not decoration, but identity. The person who used it once held it every day, and the letters kept it theirs. A piece of bone carries a short phrase, perhaps playful, perhaps serious. Even in these small things, memory was recorded. Amulets also appear in graves. Small figures shaped from metal or stone rest beside their owners. Some are hammers, some are animals, some are shapes we no longer fully understand. Their meaning may have been clear once, as clear as a family name. Today, we see only the outline, the suggestion of belief. Yet even so, their presence speaks of care. No one placed them by chance. Thor's hammers are the most common. They are found in villages, in fields, in graves. Some are simple iron, made quickly by a local smith. Others are silver, traded from far away, carried back from journeys. Each one meant something similar: protection, strength, connection to the god who guarded both sky and hearth. The fire lowers, the shadow steadies. The amulet rests. Archaeologists also find beads, many of them bright glass from distant lands. They lie in necklaces, sometimes mixed with amber from Baltic shores. A woman's grave may carry dozens, arranged carefully. Each bead once touched skin. Each bead once carried meaning. They were not only ornaments. They were reminders of trade, of connection, of belonging to both village and world. Sometimes runes appear scratched on these beads. A single letter marks them, making them more than decoration. The bead becomes both beauty and word. To wear. It is to carry memory upon the body. At times, graffiti appears in unexpected places. On walls, on wood, on stone. A name carved while waiting. A rune scratched for no one in particular. These small acts are human. They remind us that writing is not always sacred. Sometimes it is simply presence. I was here. I marked this. I existed. The wind shifts. The stone holds. The rune remains. Archaeology tells us that runes were not used for books or long texts. They were too simple, too few. Their strength was in names, prayers, short records. They lived on stone, bone, wood, and metal. Yet in their brevity, they carried power. A single name can hold a whole life. A single blessing can hold a whole journey. Even today, the stones remain. Travelers visit them. Children trace the lines. Tourists photograph them. Scholars copy them. But the stones themselves remain what they always were. Quiet presences in fields, beside roads, near rivers. They do not hurry. They do not fade quickly. They stand and wait, as they have always done. The light lowers. The stone steadies. Breath deepens. Amulets, runes, and carved stones together show us the texture of belief. It was not only in feasts, not only in great temples. It was in small acts. A hammer worn on a cord, a bead tied to a child's wrist, a rune scratched on a stick. These small acts mattered as much as the large. They carried care, love, memory, and hope. The Skald may tell of gods in long verse, but the runes on stone tell of people in short words. Both are needed. Both belong. Myth and memory weave together, each steadying the other. The night settles. The fire lowers. The breath steadies. The runes remain. The amulets remain. The stones remain. They carry memory through centuries, waiting patiently for each new hand to touch them. They are not loud. They are not urgent. They are steady, enduring, quiet companions of time. The village longhouse rests low against the earth. Walls lean slightly inward, beams weathered by years of wind and rain. Turf covers the roof, heavy and green, carrying the weight of seasons. Inside, the hearth glows softly, firelight steady, but not bright. Families sit along benches, wrapped in woolen cloaks, sharing bread, milk, and simple porridge. The sound is small, a spoon against a bowl, the shift of straw beneath feet, the breath of a cow at the far end. This is the rhythm of ordinary life. Children play with carved toys of wood, small animals shaped by hand. A woman spins wool on a spindle, its clay weight turning slowly. A man checks his axe, running a stone along the edge. Conversation is gentle, not loud. There is no feast here, no ceremony, only the steady circle of daily tasks. The longhouse shelters work, sleep, food, and family, all under one roof. Beyond the village rises another kind of hall. It is larger, built with higher beams and wider doors. Its roofline is taller, meant to be seen from afar. Carved posts stand at the entrance, shaped into dragons or beasts, watching silently. This is the Hall of the Chieftain, the place where feasts are held, where decisions are made, where visitors are received. Its walls are painted with symbols, its benches broad, its hearths many. The space itself speaks of order and weight. The hall is not constant feasting. It is quiet often, waiting like any other building, but when it fills fully. Torches are lit, flames rising along the walls. Shields hang above benches, polished until they catch the firelight. Meat turns slowly on spits, dripping fat onto the fire. The smell of roasting fills the air, heavy and rich. Trays of bread, bowls of cheese, and horns of ale are carried by many hands. The longhouse cools, the hall brightens. Thest to breath, Steadie, in. The village house, food is plain, barley bread, milk, dried fish. It is enough, shared without ceremony. In the chieftain's hall, food is abundant when feasts are called. Whole animals roast on spits, and mead flows freely. Guests eat until satisfied, then drink until laughter grows louder. But even here, order remains. The seating is arranged by rank. The high seat belongs to the chieftain, his family, and honored. Guests beside him. Others sit along benches, knowing their places. The hall is not chaos. It is structured, a mirror of society itself. Gift-giving is part of the ritual. The chieftain may present an arm ring of silver, or a finely made sword, or a cloak of dyed wool. Such gifts are not casual. They bind loyalty. To receive is to owe, and to owe is to belong. A man given a sword is expected to serve. A man given silver is expected to follow. The hall is where these bonds are formed, spoken aloud, sealed with ale and words. The staff rests. The torch is steady. The breath slows. The thing, the assembly, also gathers here. Men meet to speak of disputes, of land, of law. Voices are raised, but not in anger. They're raised to be heard. The Skald may repeat oaths, reminding men of promises made before. Decisions are reached not by command alone, but by counsel. Hall is both court and council. Both hearth and stage. Archaeologists find evidence of these halls, post holes wide apart, suggesting great beams. Fragments of painted wood, decorated with knots and beasts. Imported glass beads, shards of silver coins, remains of feasts scattered in soil. Charred bones of cattle and pigs tell of many meals. Drinking horns, sometimes tipped with bronze, are found buried in the ground. All speak of gatherings larger than any single household. The hall speaks, the house listens. The breath evens, yet the contrast is not conflict. The ordinary longhouse and the chieftain's hall are not rivals. They are parts of one whole. One shelters the family. The other shelters the community. One holds daily bread. The other holds oaths and feasts. The longhouse feeds the hall. The hall protects the longhouse. Each depends on the other. At night, both grow quiet. In the village house, the fire lowers. Children curl under wool. Animals rest in straw. In the chieftain's hall, torches burn low. Benches empty. Meat gone. Horns drained. Silence settles in both. The high beams of the hall echo softly, while the low roof of the longhouse holds warmth close. Each place knows its role. Each place accepts the dark. The torch lowers. The hearth glows. The breath steadies. Artifacts remind us of these contrasts. In simple graves, archaeologists find everyday tools, knives, spindle whorls, simple beads, iron nails. In rich graves, they find swords, silver, imported silks, and weighed scales for trade. Yet even here, the contrast is gentle. Both rich and poor are buried with care. Both are given what they need for the next journey. A child may be buried with a toy, a warrior with a sword, a woman with her spindle. Death softens the difference, reminding us of shared humanity. The hall stands taller, yet it cannot stand without the work of many houses. Timbers cut by farmers, carried by laborers, shaped by smiths. Food is raised in fields, milked from cows, caught in nets, cooked in ovens. Every feast begins in an ordinary home. Every oath is supported by ordinary hands. The hall brightens, the house cools. The breath deepens when the Skald speaks in the chieftain's hall. His voice echoes, longer. The beams are high, the walls wide, the crowd large. His verses must carry farther. He names the gods, the ancestors, the deeds of men. He blesses the chieftain with words of strength and honor. The hall remembers these verses, painted in sound. When he speaks in the village longhouse, his voice softens. The fire is small, the room close, the listeners few. He does not need to raise his tone. The words fall gently, received like bread passed hand to hand. Both places receive him, and he belongs to both. His role is not limited by walls. The hall speaks loudly. The house speaks softly. Both words endure. Seasons pass and contrasts shift. In winter, the longhouse is crowded, animals inside, smoke heavy, tasks close to the hearth. In summer, the chieftain's hall grows fuller, with feasts to celebrate harvests and victories. Both reflect the year, each in its own way. The contrast is one of scale, not of essence. The longhouse is a hall in miniature, and the hall is a longhouse magnified. Both hold fire, benches, food, voices. One is many times larger, but the shape is the same. Both are homes, one for a family, one for a community. The light fades, the torches dim, the hearth steadies, breath lowers. In time, both fall silent forever. Longhouses sink back into the earth, their timbers rotting, their roofs collapsing into soil. The chieftain's hall follows, its posts crumbling, its benches gone. Only traces remain, stains in soil, fragments of wood, rings of stone. Archaeologists read these remains, piecing together what once stood. They find no walls, but they find memory in the ground. What survives longer are the words. Stories of halls, stories of houses, carried by skulls, carried by sagas, carried into our time. Words preserve both the small and the great, daily. Bread and the grand feast, the plain bench and the carved seat, the silent cow and the polished shield. Hold them all. The house lowers, the hall quiets. The night accepts both. The fjord lies quiet now, reflecting only the pale light of evening. Longhouses settle into silence, fires lowered to embers, animals resting in straw. The great hall, too, grows dark, its torches fading, its benches empty. What remains is the memory of stories, of names carved in stone, of amulets carried close, of daily lives lived steadily beside myth. The Vikings are often remembered for voyages and raids, okay? We have walked with them more quietly, okay? We have seen the morning inside a longhouse, the patience of the Skald, the runes that hold memory, and the contrast of house and hall. In each moment, there is rhythm, not rushed, not forced, simply steady. Like waves along a shore, as you drift toward rest, you may carry with you a sense of these lives. Lives not only of gods and battles, but of bread baked slowly, of wool spun carefully, of words remembered faithfully. Lives both ordinary and enduring, anchored in the same patience that guides breath now. If you found calm in this journey, you are welcome to return for more. These stories will always wait, steady as the stones, patient as the sea. You may choose to follow this path again, or explore others that lead into quiet histories. Each one is offered not for haste, but for rest. Your presence here matters. If this brought you peace, consider sharing it with someone who may also find comfort in quiet history. You may also leave your thoughts gently so that others can see the stillness you carried with you. Such simple acts keep this circle whole, just as simple acts once kept the longhouse steady. The fire lowers, the words soften. The night accepts its silence. Sleep, like the fjord, waits without demand.